Today, we're going to talk about the top unbelievable places that actually exist. The Earth really is a mysterious yet wonderful place. It never stops evolving, and it never stops showing us all sorts of spectacular views and phenomena. Though some of those views are gradually disappearing due to artificial environmental changes, we still have an abundance of fantastic and completely natural places that sometimes defy explanation. Are you curious about those unbelievable places on Earth? Welcome to our channel, where we share with you all of the amazing places on this planet to put on your bucket list. If you're new here, we know you're going to like it here. And if you're a subscriber, thank you for coming back. Without further ado, here we go. 10 of the most unbelievable places on Earth that actually exist. Number 1. Crooked Forest in Poland. Nobody knows what causes the pine trees in Grafino, Poland, to bend a certain way. If you look at them closely, the base of the trunk takes a 90-degree bend before curving outwards to the north and ultimately straightening upwards again. Even more mystifying is that straight trees surround these curved trees, so it's not as if the entire grove was affected. Several theories exist about why those peculiar pine trees took such an odd shape. One prevalent theory suggests that farmers deliberately bent the saplings to take their current form. The idea is to pre-harvest the pre-shaped lumber for shipbuilding, as it's structurally better to use wood that's already bent instead of forcing them into a shape. Another popular theory suggests that heavy snowfall affected the saplings during their early days. Supposedly, the snow would have accumulated so that a part of the sapling would be holding the snow like a bowl. The extended melting time means the sapling will grow to accommodate that shape instead of the usual straight figure they take. Regardless of which theory you think is likely, one thing's for sure, it's definitely a peculiar sight to see. Number 2. Salar de Uyuni in Bolivia. You'd be forgiven if your only reason to go to Salar de Uyuni in Bolivia is to take Instagrammable photos. After all, the 3,900 square mile salt flat makes for an ideal mirror after the rain when the perfectly still water reflects the skies. But while you're there, you might as well admire that you're on the Earth's largest salt flat. Underneath that crust of salt crystals is a large pool of brine rich in lithium. An estimated 9 million tons of lithium are supposed to be underneath Salar de Uyuni, but the Bolivian government prohibits private companies from extracting it. Instead, they want to produce up to 40 million tons of lithium annually through a partnership with a German company called Esiza. As for the salt itself, there is an estimated 10 billion tons of salt accumulated on its surface. 4 different types of salt can be found here: sodium chloride, or table salt, potassium chloride, lithium chloride, and magnesium chloride. Only about 25,000 tons of salt are collected here every year. Number 3. Gates of Hell in Turkmenistan. Even though this one is likely artificial, with a cool name to boot, the Darvaza gas crater, also known as the Gates of Hell, is one fascinating sight for multiple reasons. For one, that crater has been burning natural gas non-stop for over 50 years. There's not really a documented history of how the fire pit started, so it's hard to determine whether engineers deliberately set it ablaze or not. The common story involves engineers digging for a potential oil deposit, only to encounter a natural gas pocket. The ground eventually gave way and collapsed, taking the rig along with it. With the gas pocket now exposed, engineers supposedly feared that the pit was releasing toxic gases, so they decided to burn it off instead. They estimated that the blaze would be done in a few weeks, but that clearly isn't the case. Whether it's burning methane or natural gas, the fire pit in the middle of the Karakum Desert in Turkmenistan has become a tourist attraction. The locals call the fire pit the Gates of Hell because of its 230 feet diameter and collection of bubbling mud and orange flames. Number 4. Sagano Bamboo Forest in Kyoto, Japan. Commonly known as Arashiyama Bamboo Grove, Sagano Bamboo Forest is one of the most notable tourist destinations in Kyoto. It's open 24/7 and doesn't cost anything to enter, so why not walk through the forest and enjoy the tall bamboo surrounding you? The best time to walk through the path in the forest undisturbed is during the early morning. If the skies are clear, You'll get slivers of sunlight trying to cut through the bamboo. And when it's windy, the sound of the leaves rustling is part of Japan's soundscape, as the country's Minister of the Environment assigned. Why visit during the early morning instead of later in the day? That's because tons of tourists want to see this place for themselves, so the paths can get clogged. Everyone wants a photo of rows of tall bamboo pointing up to the sky. It does make for a slightly aggravating experience when the grove is crowded, so plan your visiting times accordingly. Number 5. Mendenhall Ice Caves in Alaska, USA. Would you like to walk inside a cave where it looks like you're underwater but frozen? If so, you'll want to make your way to Mendenhall Ice Caves in Juneau, Alaska. The ice cave is inside a melting glacier, so your walk lets you witness this process firsthand. That also means the photo of the cave you may have seen previously won't be the same when you go through the cave yourself. But that's part of the charm. Few people can say they've walked through a melting glacier. Number 6. Wulingyuan Scenic Area in Hunan, China. Would you like to see several mountains featuring massive rock columns that resulted from years of erosion? How about walking through over 550 species of trees while encountering countless diverse wildlife? If you answered yes to either of those, then you'll want to be in the Wulingyuan Scenic Area in Hunan, China. With over 100 square miles of territory, Wulingyuan Scenic Area is divided into 4 parts: Zhangjiajie National Forest Park, Wanzhijie, Tianzi Mountain Natural Reserve, and Yangjijie. Each area has something unique for its visitors. For instance, Zhangjiajie National Forest Park is home to over 3,000 towering sandstone pillars. You could photograph these sandstone peaks nestled between low-hanging clouds if you're at the right altitude. If you'd rather stay on ground level, take a relaxing walk along the banks of the Golden Whip Stream. Number 7. Grand Prismatic Spring in Wyoming, USA. Old Faithful might get most of the attention whenever Yellowstone is mentioned, but the Grand Prismatic Spring is another site you shouldn't miss when visiting the area. And how could you, with the intense blue water and the colorful prisms surrounding it? In fact, it's the most photographed hot spring at Yellowstone, and it's clear why. So how does 370 feet wide Grand Prismatic Spring get its brightly colored rings? That's actually because of the different kinds of bacteria that live around the spring. They act as living thermometers by changing colors as they get closer to the cooler water. And once you do reach the water, you'll have a 121-foot plunge towards a crack on the Earth's surface, where hot water seeps out. You don't want to be in boiling water, so stay away from its surface. You probably don't want to be stepping on those colorful bacteria anyway. Number 8. Marble Caves in Patagonia, Chile. Anyone who's ever admired what's inside a marble will have the time of their life in Marble Caves in Patagonia. The cave is full of colorful marble columns, sprouting out of amazingly clear glacier waters. Who wouldn't enjoy seeing that? Believe it or not, it took over 6,000 years to carve out the cave into the wonder it is now. As the nearby glaciers melted, water from the General Carrera Lake entered the cave and gradually carved out columns and tunnels inside. And as the water carved its way through, it also revealed colorful layers of rock underneath. Unfortunately, getting to the marble caves is difficult if you rely on public transportation. One of the closest towns is Puerto Rio Tranquilo, which is relatively small and doesn't offer a lot of amenities to visitors. However, plenty of local tour companies in town offer a boat tour of the caves, so you'll definitely see these wonders. You'll just have to get there first. Number 9. Cave of Crystals in Naica, Mexico. It was only in the year 2000 that miners accidentally found these massive crystals growing all over a cave. These crystals were uncharacteristically huge, with some of them measuring about 3 feet wide and nearly 40 feet long. They were also milky white, yet luminous. As it turns out, these crystals have been growing over 950 feet below the surface for millions of years. As water came and went inside the cave, calcium sulfate mineral deposits developed and expanded inside the warm enclosure. And because they've been undisturbed for a long time, they grew larger than they should. Nowadays, access to the Cave of Crystals is restricted to scientists only. Mining company Industrias Penoles is trying to protect the cave from thieving collectors, as some of them had broken off pieces of crystal from the nearby Cave of Swords, which was discovered much earlier. Temperatures inside the Cave of Crystals is also a constant 122 degrees Fahrenheit with 90% humidity, so scientists can only be in the cave for 10 minutes at a time. Number 10. The Silfra Rift in Iceland. Not a lot of people could say they swam between two continents, let alone seen the top part of the tectonic plates themselves. If you want to be one of the few who can make that claim, then you need to go to the Silfra Rift in Iceland immediately. Located inside Thingvellir National Park, Silfra Rift came to be in 1789, after the North American and Eurasian tectonic plates drifted apart, causing earthquakes in their wake. These plates are still moving away from each other, but they're a lot slower now. They only move an average of 0.08 inches every year. However, that doesn't mean the area around the rift is unchanged. As earthquakes around the area occur, the rift widens slightly. Rocks also fall underneath, so that terrain is constantly changing. Swimming or diving between these two continental plates is a breathtaking experience. Not only will you be able to see incredibly clear waters and beautiful marine life, but you'll also be up close to the edges of both continents as you swim past them. Seeing these places is awe-inspiring and humbling, especially considered how they occurred mostly without human intervention. Unfortunately, some are at risk of disappearing because of climate changes and the environment. If you have the chance, you should see these unbelievable places so you don't miss out on these wonders. Have you seen any of these places in person? Or perhaps you know of one that isn't listed here? Comment below. And if you enjoyed this video, you're definitely going to love this other video from our channel. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want more content like this. See you soon, and until then, bon voyage.